Washington Post, in the St. Louis papers.
The threat to reporter Coleman really comes out of the belief in the Nation of Islam in a final battle between blacks and whites, and that blacks finally will achieve this power. And it is sometime in the future that this retribution will come.
Retribution against a reporter who happens to be black by blacks who think the reporter should be black first. When the charismatic Jesse Jackson spoke of his Rainbow Coalition, it was an idealistic but hopefully realistic dream. The dream seems further away than ever, even though the Jackson candidacy is stronger than many would have predicted. Betsy Aaron for Nightline in New York.
We'll talk live with black Muslim leader Louis Farrakhan when we return in just a moment. With us now live from our affiliate WVUE in New Orleans is Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam. Mr. Farrakhan, we heard what you said, so I guess the question is not over whether you said it, but what you meant.
First, I'd like to say that it is regrettable that after 30 years of service to the black community, I'm not before these cameras because of the good that I have done on behalf of black people, but I'm here because of the wicked machinations of the media, both print and television, who have twisted my words out of context, as was done just a few minutes ago, to make me appear as though I threatened the life of Mr. Coleman, which I never did.
Well, first of all,
now, in answer to what you asked,
yes, go ahead.
What did I mean? I said that I felt that Mr. Coleman was guilty of betraying our brother and betraying our people in what he did. And as a betrayer of our people, I felt that he should be punished. And I felt that that punishment should take on the form of social pressure, which ostracized or excommunicated him from among us, that we would not accept him in our community until he repented of what he did. Later on in that same tape, I said, in the future, or soon, you, plural, meaning traitors, stool pigeons, and those kinds of persons who are against the rise and liberation of our people will be punished with death, as any nation punishes their traitors. When we become a nation, then we will do as all nations do, punish our traitors. But that was not what I meant for Mr. Coleman, and I never said anything of that kind.
All right. Let us then analyze, if we can, why it is you believe that he was a traitor. He is, after all, a journalist working for a distinguished newspaper, and he reported what he heard.
Yes, he reported what he heard, sir. But to us, we put it in a religious context. To us, we see the Reverend Jesse Jackson coming in the prophetic mold. He is not a prophet, but we see him coming in the mold of Jesus and the former prophets, seeking to redress the grievances of the poor and the oppressed and crying out for justice. And we see this brother, Milton Coleman, as having heard a remark that Reverend Jesse Jackson made and delivered this remark into the hands of those who were bent on destroying Reverend Jesse Jackson. So look at the way this Jaime remark has been blown totally out of proportion, while at the same time, sir, with all due respect, this remark and the way it was blown out of proportion caused certain members of the Jewish Defense League to bomb the offices of Mr. Jackson in Anaheim, California. This was reported on the West Coast, but it was not reported on the East Coast. It was not reported in the Washington Post, nor in the New York Times. So we ask, why would you spread the term Jaime and then at the same time suppress a violent act which came as a result of their hatred of Jesse, exacerbated by this remark becoming public and in the way that it was made public?
Mr. Farrakhan, as you know, one of the things that the Reverend Jackson is trying to do is to create a rainbow coalition, as he calls it. He's looking for support, and lamentably he's not getting much of it outside the black community. But do you think it is in keeping with that spirit that a black reporter be asked to act first as a black and second as a reporter? Do you think that he should be required to do his job differently than other members of his profession are asked to do theirs?
On a recent show in New York City called Like It Is, a respected Jewish writer named Nat Hentoff said that when he writes an article on someone, he always asks their position on Israel. And once they give their position on Israel, then he takes his direction of how he will write that article based upon that. So he is a Jew first and a writer afterwards.
And that is Mr. Hentoff's decision to make.
That is Mr. Hentoff's decision.
That's right. And what I'm asking you, however,
black and then became a reporter, so he was black first and is a reporter second.
No doubt. But if every member of the profession of journalism were to act in that kind, were to act in that manner, then there would be no such thing as even approaching objective journalism, would there?
Sir, in an article yesterday in the Washington Post, a respected journalist, Mr. Carl Rowan, said that if he were to have revealed certain conversations by judges and senators and whatnot, it would be very damaging and embarrassing to them. Out of his journalistic profession and out of his discretion as a journalist, he chose not to say those things that would be embarrassing to that judge or that senator or these high-ranking officials or White House officials. On the other hand, Mr. Jackson is running for an office that he has not yet attained. And the name Jaime, sir, was not known in the Jewish community as a slur. If Jesse Jackson had used the term kike or had used the term WAP or any other name in that category, or as another reporter said, he lumped it in the name with the name Coon. We don't refer to ourselves as Coons, but Jewish people refer to each other as Hyman or Jaime. And you know the name does not have a bad meaning. The name Jaime comes from an Hebrew root called Chaim, which means life. And Jesse Jackson was using it not in the pejorative sense, but in the sense of a slang word. Unfortunate though he used it, the way it was treated, sir, knowing it 1 month before it was revealed, and then revealing it 8 days before the New Hampshire primary, and knowing this remark that I made concerning Milton Coleman 1 month ago, and holding it to reveal it 2 days before the New York primary, now whipping it up to damage Jesse Jackson in the Pennsylvania primary, I think this is the diabolical mischief-making of the press, which we deplore.
Mr. Farrakhan, since we are in the primary season, and since just about every week now is the week before one primary or another, if it's going to be revealed at all before next November's election, I guess at some time or another it's going to be before a primary. That can't be avoided. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, Roger Wilkins is going to join us. Mr. Farrakhan, I'd like to ask you if you'll be good enough to remain with us, will you?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment. With us now live in our New York studios is Roger Wilkins, author, radio commentator, former columnist for the New York Times, former editorial writer for the Washington Post, and former Assistant Attorney General. Where are we, Mr. Wilkins? Is this a story that should have been written in the first place? Is too much being made of it now? Is it possible that this is being done as an effort to smear a presidential candidate?
You've asked about 9 questions, Ted.
Just 3.
The answer is that when Earl Butz told his dirty joke on the airplane, somebody printed it, and Earl Butz ultimately was driven out of the cabinet. And we blacks were delighted that the demonstration of a fellow's racism would be punished. We cannot, it seems to me, say that when our friend says something that is difficult and awkward, that it should not be reported. So I don't think too much has been made of it. The question really is whether Milton Coleman is being treated badly, is being persecuted, and whether he did what he did as a reporter who was covering a presidential candidate, or whether he was being a black man covering a black presidential candidate, and whether, as a result, he felt extraordinary pressures and did something that he would not otherwise have done.
Well, you heard what Mr. Farrakhan had to say. He said he's a black man first and should have acted as a black man first, and because he did not, he should be regarded by the black community as a traitor. Now, whether in fact this business of the you being singular or plural and the you will be punished with death refers to traitors in general or to Mr. Coleman in particular, I guess we have to leave to our audience to decide for themselves. But how does you are a black reporter, you are a black writer, had it been you, how would you have responded? And how do you respond to Mr. Farrakhan now?
If Jesse had said to me, Jesse is a friend of mine, and if he had said those words to me on the record, I would have printed them. If he had said to me, this is off the record, this is how I think about those people, I would have said to him, I'm not going to print that, Jesse. You shouldn't say that. Those are ugly words and those are ugly thoughts and they are dangerous. And if you say it again, I'll print it.
Mr. Farrakhan, you're nodding your head, and yet a moment ago you were explaining to me that there was nothing untoward in the expression Jaime to begin with.
Sir, this gentleman said, number one, that if it were on the record, he would have printed it. The remarks that Jesse Jackson made, to the best of our knowledge, was off the record. Secondly, he is kind enough and good enough to have said to his brother, you are wrong. And I will warn you, Jesse, not to say this again, for if you do, I will make it known. I think that's the brotherly thing to do. Mr. Coleman did not do that. He delivered his brother up into the hands of those who wanted to destroy him.
Now, excuse me for interrupting you both, because Mr. Wilkins, I don't think you're being consistent. You began by pointing to the example of Earl Butz, who was Secretary of Agriculture, and who also, thinking that he was speaking off the record, made, as you correctly pointed out, or delivered a very distasteful joke. He thought it was off the record. It was reported, and because of that, he lost his cabinet post. Now, which is it? Does a man, I mean, did the reporters who were traveling with him have an obligation to say, hey, listen, Earl, that's a lousy joke, you shouldn't tell jokes like that, and if you do it again, I'm warning you that I will have to report it? We can't have a double standard there either, can we?
Well, Ted, you and I know that in Washington, people curry favor with reporters, curry favor with public figures. And they are seduced by public figures all the time. The greatest example is Henry Kissinger, who seduced a whole generation of reporters in the early 70s. I believe that reporters ought to give their friends, because I think reporters are human beings, I think they ought to give their friends one bite at the apple and say, do not say that anymore in my presence. If you do, I've got to go and put that in the paper.
All right. Now, what about what Mr. Farrakhan had to say to Mr. Coleman? You accept his explanation that it was a broad statement and that he was not threatening him with
no,
violence?
I don't. I respect Minister Farrakhan and his contributions to the black community, but I do not believe that if he meant to say to Milton Coleman that I have a right to tell you, Milton Coleman, how to do your job because I'm black and I like Jesse and I'm going to tell you how to do your job. I don't believe he can say that. I don't believe he has a right to say that, just as I don't believe that we black people would accept it if a white person would say to us, we are going to make white reporters protect Jesse Helms.
If I may say, sir, with all due respect, you cannot compare the remark that Mr. Butts made. If you were to repeat what Mr. Butts said on this television show and then compare that with Jaime or Jaimetown, that's like comparing apples and watermelons. Secondly, with all respect again, sir, I'm not telling Mr. Coleman how to do his job. I am advising him that this, in my judgment and in the judgment of the masses of black people, is highly improper. Now, if I threaten this man's life, Mr. Koppel, why have I not been charged and arrested? Because that is a criminal offense. Here you are making of me a criminal, and our lawyers are looking into a suit against every network and every newspaper that said I threatened this man because we intend to make you prove this in a court of law.
Mr. Farrakhan, it will be...
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute, sir.
It'll
While
be...
you make... I'm sorry.
Well,
yes,
go
sir.
ahead. You finish what you were going to say.
While you make an assertion that is utterly false, that I threatened this man's life, here there have been over 100 threats against the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson, and over 10 Caucasians are now in jail for having threatened his life, and nothing is made of the real threat, but everything is made of this purported threat.
Mr. Farrakhan, first of all, let me ask your indulgence for a moment. We're going to have to tell our affiliates now that we are going to be running a little bit long, so please bear with us. You are a leader. When you make a statement, and when you make it in a nationally broadcast, national radio broadcast, that has a different impact, and I think perhaps you will agree that you ought to be held to a different standard than some of the maniacs who are running around threatening not only Jesse Jackson, but all the presidential candidates and the man who lives in the White House. That kind of thing goes with the territory. But you're a leader.
Certainly. I must be accountable for what I say, sir, and for what I do, as all of us in public life must be accountable. I never mentioned that that I recommended this ostracism or this social pressure on Milton Coleman should be done to tell other black reporters that they should not be critical of Jesse Jackson. Certainly they should be critical of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Any of us that are in leadership or in the public eye should be criticized. But there is a difference between criticism and betrayal. And I would rather believe and suspect, and I believe if you polled black people around this country, 90 to 95% of our people would agree that Milton Coleman betrayed Jesse Jackson into the hands of those who wanted to destroy his candidacy.
Mr. Farrakhan, when you say that you're not threatening other black reporters, I can't disagree with that, but don't you think it has a chilling effect on other black reporters when they see they see how stridently you come out against Mr. Coleman?
I would hope that it would have a chilling effect on betrayers, because we live in a society, Mr. Koppel, we've just come through the 60s, where J. Edgar Hoover had this terrible counterintelligence program where black men and women were paid sums of money to disrupt black organizations, to discredit black leaders, and to destroy black church people who were deemed too militant. And I feel that if black people hope in a reward from the establishment for the betraying of blacks, that equation has never been balanced. Now, with an enlightened black community, we hope to add something to that other side of the equation, so that blacks who want to curry the favor and ingratiate themselves to the establishment and take bribes to do these evil things to us, then we on the other side will balance that with punishment. Ted, after all, we're coming of age.
Ted, can I say something?
Please.
Jesse does not need that kind of help. Jesse is a very strong, able, assertive man. He has proved that in Alabama, Georgia, and New York. We do not we black people need the kind of help that Minister Farrakhan is saying that he needs, it is as if when Jackie Robinson came into the league, if the Giants had hired a black pitcher and somebody said, well, don't throw him your fastest fastball. Jesse doesn't need the help of black reporters not being as professional, not being as tough, not being as examining of what he's doing as they are of Hart and Mondale. He can stand the gaff. He's a strong, bright, able, assertive guy.
How do you, and this is an awfully difficult position for you to be in, but how do you respond to what Mr. Farrakhan has been saying? If he were to turn around to you right now, and of course he has not, but if he did and said, sure, you're saying that because you now are currying favor with the white establishment, it is an almost impossible position, it seems to me, for a black reporter to be put in the position of either being regarded as a traitor or as currying favor with the white establishment. Is there no middle ground?
It happens that I am delighted by what Jesse Jackson is doing, and my heart leaps at his successes. But it does not seem to me that the black people who support Walter Mondale, of whom there are many, are betraying the black people. It is not a measure of your blackness or your love of black people, your respect for the aged black people, or your respect for black children, that you love Jesse Jackson and what he is doing. That is one judgment that people have a right to make. I made the judgment that I approve of what Jesse Jackson is doing. You are not betraying black people by deciding that you are for Walter Mondale or Gary Hart or something else. You are not betraying black people by looking at Jesse Jackson whole and not saying he is complete, total, perfect. It's just wrong to say.
Mr. Farrakhan,
if I may say, sir.
Do you have any trouble with that?
Yes, I do. In a recent poll taken by the Haddon Associates, a marketing research firm out of Haddon, New Jersey, they call the Wellington Group, they asked the question to black people across this country in 50 major cities, do you regard those blacks who go with Mondale as opposed to those who go with Jesse as betraying the cause of black people and not speaking the will of black people? And 49 6/10% of those polled said they agreed that if they went with Mondale, they were betraying the masses of the people. 36% of those polled were neutral, and only 14 1/10% of those polled said they disagreed totally. What we're saying with respect to Mr. Mondale, if we look at Mr. Hart and Mr. Mondale and the Jewish constituency, if you notice, with 6 million Jews in America, a very powerful, politically and economically mature people, Mr. Hart and Mr. Mondale have to stand before the Jewish people and stand before the Jewish leaders and speak forthrightly on Jewish concerns before they will get the vote of the Jewish people. Here we are endorsing Mondale or endorsing Hart, and we have never called Hart or Mondale before black people to address our concerns. Why should we be so quick to endorse Mr. Mondale or to endorse Mr. Hart or to endorse Mr. Jackson until and unless these political candidates show they respect our vote and speak out against our concerns.
Mr.
Our
Farrakhan,
concerns are very legitimate.
we're going to have to begin wrapping this up, but I think there are a couple of loose ends that have to be wrapped up. First of all, do you agree with that survey, with that poll that would describe anyone who voted for Mr. Mondale, any black who voted for Mr. Mondale and Mr. Hart as a traitor? Would that be part of that group?
They didn't use the word traitor.
As betraying.
That they betrayed our cause.
All right. One who betrays, I think, can reasonably be called a traitor. You did the same thing in your radio comments. Would you consider such a person as betraying the black people?
No. A person that voted for Mondale out of what they call their pragmatic sense, who felt that Mr. Mondale could do more for them, I would call that their vote and their right to do so. But all I'm saying, sir, is that before we give Mr. Mondale our endorsement, make him address the concerns of the people who voted these politicians into office. And no black leading politician has done this, and for that we hold them accountable.
All right. One more question I would like to ask you, since you raised the issue of some of the frictions that exist between Jews and blacks today in America, and since it can reasonably be argued that you contributed to some of that friction when you said, if you harm this brother, this will be the last one you harm. What did you mean by that? Was that a threat?
Yes, it was a threat, but it was more a warning. You know, when the prophets spoke to Israel, they always spoke to Israel and gave Israel a warning. Implicit in that warning was a threat that the Israeli conduct would lead to this consequence. What I was saying to the Jewish people, and mind you, it was taken out of context, because before that I had asked the Jews and blacks to sit down and dialogue. This is what I asked. But I said that if Jesse Jackson is harmed, this man has transcended Jesse Jackson. He's on a higher mission from a higher power, and if this man is harmed, you will have to face the wrath of God. This is what I meant, and I mean that today.
Mr. Farrakhan, thank you very much. Roger, go ahead if you want to.
I cannot let this end that way. I do not contest Minister Farrakhan's support for Reverend Jackson. I simply say that Reverend Jackson is also a friend of mine, and I support what he is doing. I have given of my time and my spirit and my intellect to promote his effort. And I do not see in anything that he is doing anything that calls for a test of Jewish people. Anything that says to Jewish people, you have to prove to us something of yourselves. I see Reverend Jackson really as a person who is pushing as hard as he can and growing as rapidly as he can for expression of issues of human concern in this society, both human domestically and human abroad, that are beyond race, beyond religion, and certainly beyond any of this silly business of Jews and blacks. I think Reverend Jackson wants to get beyond that. I think he's tried to get beyond that. I think he's made some mistakes. I think that the angry talk that we have heard over the last few weeks, and the angry talk we've heard tonight, may have been where this campaign was some time ago. I don't think that's where my friend Jesse Jackson is tonight. I just don't think so.
Gentlemen, we have to stop somewhere, and that is...
To say, sir, that I've
Mr.
initiated
Farrakhan,
a meeting with Nathan Perlmutter, and it will take place sometime this month to sit down and start that kind of dialogue.
Nathan
And I'm
Perlmutter
also
of the
going to have a meeting with
Anti-Defamation
Milton
League.
Coleman.
Yeah. When
Thank
are
you.
when are you going to meet with Mr. Coleman?
We're going to meet hopefully on Monday morning
And where?
in Washington, D.C.
All right. Mr. Farrakhan, Mr. Wilkins, thank you both very much.
Every Thursday night the vibe is set. Brother Leo and Sister Claudia, you won't forget. They're bringing truth, they're bringing light. Tune in, let them spark your mind tonight. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. They talk that talk, they walk the walk. Breaking it down, no need for small talk. Wisdom flying like the eagle's soar. You leave with more than you came here for. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Soulful voices on the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made. Soulful voices on the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I want to greet you, my dear beloved Imagination family, in the greeting words of peace. We say it in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Welcome, 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 dear beloved family, to another episode of the Imagination Show. My name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved wife and friend, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
And welcome to another edition of the Image and Nation Show. Welcome to our YouTube family and welcome to our Zoom family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah. Dear family, wow. The weather is very, very bad outside. It's been wet for several days, but I'm feeling very warm, feeling very hot. I don't know why. Well, it's warm in the apartment, so that's basically the bottom line. But I hope and pray that everybody is good, that you are all well, and that you are looking forward to this episode of the show. And as always, I want to encourage you to call a friend, a family, a loved one. Let them know that Imagination is live right now on Zoom and also on YouTube. Tune in. Also, dear family, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Imagination show. It really helps when you click those buttons to enhance and propel the show and help the show to continue to grow. If you've not yet subscribed, subscribe, man. It makes a difference. And for those of you who desire to help us to continue with the show and you want to make a donation, I'm pretty sure that there's something on here that will give you an indication of what you need to do to make that happen. Dear family, every week I say this, and Sister Claudia tries to stop me. She says, "Oh, don't say it." But because we're into a new year, I really want to make the shows just that more sharp and succinct. I don't want to just talk for the sake of talking at the end of the day. So I'm going to try and keep it nice and sharp this evening again. Do our best, inshallah. But without further ado, we want to get into our subject straight away because, it's important that we stay focused.
But remember what student minister Ishmael said on Sunday about it. The minister did say you don't need to apologize when you're giving the word, keeping the people.
Of course, if you go long, sometimes that can't be helped.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's nature of the word. What we attempt to share on the Imagination show is not my word, it's not Sister Claudia's word. It's our rendition of a word that really doesn't originate with us. The word is the word of God. The word is that which was revealed to a servant of God, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're just trying to share some of those, what we call life-giving teachings with the audience. And so, welcome to episode 217 of the Imagination show. Today is Thursday, January the 15th, 2026. I mean, it's incredible, really.
Yes.
It feels like, we're literally halfway through January already. Our subject matter today is entitled The Crimes of Commission and Omission. And essentially, from my perspective, it's really just to really highlight, more so than anything else, the omission part. Because I think all of us really appreciate or understand what it means to commit crime, and that, the commission of crime is serious and that it has consequences to it. But I think sometimes the omission part is not readily understood. There are different forms of criminality, and that's what we really want to deal with this evening as we get into this episode of the Imagination show. I did see something. Somebody was saying that think it was Johnny Mitchell that said that there was, I think he was having some issue with sound, but I think you need to, I hope you've resolved it, but if you haven't, my recommendation would be to turn off your device, whatever you're using, and then log on again, and that normally resolves that particular problem. But from this end, and I haven't seen anybody else saying anything about a problem with sound. From this end, it seems to be fine. Dear family, the crime of commission can refer to the direct affirmative action taken by someone that causes harm, injustice, or a violation of human rights. Examples might include specific policies, military actions, or systemic practices that actively oppress or disadvantage an individual or a group of people. In other words, to be guilty of committing a crime. That's the crime of commission, you know, and whether you really fully appreciate it or not, we live in a world where crime is happening on a second by second basis. It's just, you know, we often remark on when we're out in the street and all of the various sirens that we hear going past, you know, police rushing here and there and whatever. I think the other day in our locality, there was a car chase, a police car chase, where those being chased by the police jumped out of the car and ran off and left it in such a precarious way that it was blocking a road that we use on a regular basis. But criminality is that happening on that scale, on that level, and on very high levels around the world. But you know, it's not unusual. It's and I was reflecting when I was looking at this particular subject and thinking about some things that I've heard about, for instance, in parts of the Middle East, where on Fridays, for instance, when it's time for Juma prayer, how merchants who might be selling even gold, jewelry, things of that nature, will sometimes pull a cloth over their wares, over their merchandise, which valuable things, in order to leave it and go to prayer. And then after prayer, come back and nothing will have been stolen. And, you know, it bears thinking about when you consider that in the West, it's the complete opposite to that, whereby a friend of mine recently got a beautiful motor vehicle, one of the high-end BMWs with all of the mod cons and all of the immobilizer system and alarm systems on the vehicle. And yet the vehicle parked outside his house was stolen. You know, we live in a place in the West where you can have your vehicle, say for instance, it's a motorcycle, chained up within a garage and it will be stolen. So, you know, when we're talking about crime and the commission of crime, we're not fantasizing. We're really talking about something that's very real. Of course, I'm sure you will all be familiar with the recent happenings where you have the President of the United States of America blatantly stealing other people's oil, you know, commandeering or practicing piracy on the high seas, where oil tankers are stopped in international waters and boarded, and the contents of the oil tanker is stolen, taken to America, to be sold, whilst that doesn't belong to America. It belongs to Venezuela. And we can go on and on. And, again, when I reflect on what happened to black people starting in the year 1555, when that Caucasian man from England, John Hawkins, came to Africa on a ship named Jesus. Oftentimes we think about the theft of property, the theft of gold and other mineral deposits and oil and other things that have been taken out of the global south, out of the east, out of Africa. The spices and all of these things which have lend themselves to enriching the Western world. But I think sometimes we underestimate the theft of the human beings themselves, that which we now call slaves. Remember, they didn't capture slaves. They didn't capture a people that were slaves. They captured human beings that had to be made into slaves. Do you know that there was a process of making a slave? That we had to be broken and destroyed as a human reality in order to convert us into a slave mentality. And that literally took hundreds of years of systematic dehumanizing treatment in order to effect that condition of our enslavement and to cause us to become an enslaved people. This wasn't, something that is divorced from criminality. That was criminal actions, criminal behavior that ultimately rendered a whole set of people into a lifestyle of literally subhumans.
Yes.
This is the reality. Did you have something, Sister Claudia?
That's the world we live in. Everything, they just steal from. You go to the shops or the store, the prices, just
remember when we were buying fruit and veg at that place recently?
I don't even want to say. I was disgusted at the price of fruit and veg. Nearly the equivalent of £100.
Yes. I mean, we were buying for four of us, a family.
I don't care.
I know, but I'm really backing you up in the sense that we were not in charge of the scale.
Yes.
We were not in charge of the price per unit of the fruit or whatever. So these people, they really have you at their mercy in that, you say, okay, I'll have four of those mangoes. I'll have three of those apples, whatever. They go and they put it on instead of a bag of cherries, they put it on a scale, and then they, in terms of the weight,
then they say the price
per kilo or whatever, and then they say a price. Now, if you want it to be, I don't know, if you wanted to be finicky, you could ask them at each juncture, okay, well, what does that come to? Oh, okay, take off two of those apples or remove two of the mangoes. I mean, who shops like that, really? I mean, I don't shop like that. But, it's coming to that where that's probably how that's the only way that you're going to be able to monitor exactly what's being calculated, because by the end of the process, as Sister Claudia said, it was like nearly £100 worth of fruit and veg that had been purchased, and you could clearly see really that these people were just making up some of these prices as they went along, based on the fact that you don't know exactly what how they've priced these items.
But what I'm saying also is just this world, You go to the dentist, how much you're charged. You're just overcharged. You buy clothes, how much you're overcharged. The inflation that, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's just a rip-off.
yeah.
That's
Like your electricity,
yeah,
your
electricity,
gas,
gas.
because these companies are sending you estimates. Oh, we estimate that you've used this much based on this meter that's in, and you know, I mean, there are many people who have done research into a lot of these practices, and they've proved that so much of it is fraudulent. It's just a made up number,
Yeah.
and they can effectively charge whatever they want,
That's
which is why when you hear of their annual um, uh, take-ins, you know, these people are earning billions of pounds or dollars, depending on where you live, and their CEOs, their chief executive officers, and the rest of the management team are earning so much money, getting paid, you know, hundreds of thousands per year or even millions, and then getting bonuses, you know, for your consumption of a little bit of gas or electricity.
That's right.
Something, again, by the way, which, if we really understand that these are things that have been put in the earth by God for human consumption, and if you go back to Tesla, back in the day, he was talking about free energy. And it would appear that he was ostracized. He was basically marginalized, and ultimately he died. And they stole all of his blueprints and all of his inventions that really demonstrated that the human beings really should have been able to have free energy when it comes to electricity things. You shouldn't really be paying for these types of things. You know, imagine we're paying for water.
No, but that's what Brother Simon said. Water, you pay for air to get put,
yes, to put in your tires. I mean, you know,
it's
sick. It's sick, dear family. But understand, I want you to understand it in the context of crime.
Yes.
Because that's what it is.
It is.
It's criminality.
That's right.
However you want to dress it up.
That's right.
At the end of the day, it's as bad as this guy shooting from the shadows with his Kalashnikov or whatever weapon he's using. You know, this is what I want us to really appreciate this evening. Now, omission means a person or a thing that has been left out. Omission. It means a person or a thing that's been left out. The crime of omission refers to the failure to act or intervene when there is a duty or ability to do so, resulting in harm or the perpetuation of injustice. Examples might include an individual, government, or other institution's failure to provide the necessary protection or resources to shield the vulnerable person, group, or population from danger, systemic inequalities, while being aware of the existence of such potential harm and or problems. Omission, when we fail to prevent crime, when we omit to, you know, mention certain realities which lend themselves to crime. You know, sometimes when we keep close to us so-called friends who we know are wrong in what they are doing, but we fail to say to that so-called friend, no, man, you can't do that, or I'm not going to go along with that, or I can't be a part of that, then we are as guilty of that crime as if we were permitting that crime just by our omission.
That's right.
You see? I found this image online. I really was looking for another image. If you look at the image, I don't know if you can see it, but there's another image similar to this one where there's a man in a pit down here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there's a man in a pit down here. There's a man on top of the surface of the ground, and he's laying down up here, reaching his hand down, but the gap between his hand and the man in the pit is so vast, he'll never be able to get hold of his hand. But laying next to him up here is a ladder. That's a long ladder, but obviously the man in the pit can't see that this guy up here has got a ladder. And so he's really pretending to be helping or desirous of helping, when in reality, all he has to do is get up, lower the ladder down, and the man will be able to climb out of the pit. So I saw this and I thought it was quite interesting. And then the words say, some friends lift you up while others hold you just high enough to keep you from realizing you are still beneath them. And so if you look at this the image when it moves, it's quite interesting, because here you see he's got like a winding type of ladder thing. He's reaching down, but watch what really is going on.
That's terrible.
But
that's the world we live in,
right? And make no mistake about it, you're
getting somewhere.
Yeah, and you think people are trying to help you, but in reality, it's like, say, the welfare state, for instance, where you're getting benefits, but it's not like the benefit is designed to actually help you out of a hole. The benefit sometimes is designed to keep you where you are, as it said, to keep you from realizing you're still beneath them. It's not designed really to help you to climb out of the pit. It's designed to maintain you in that pit. Go ahead.
And that's what makes you a devil, because when you think you're better than people, I am better.
Absolutely. And again, as I said, family, it is criminality. It's the crime of omission is as bad as the crime of commission.
That's right.
You see, when we omit to do the right thing, when we abstain ourselves from giving justice, when we pretend to be one way, when in reality we're the complete opposite, that's as much a crime as the person who is just blatantly in your face, putting a gun in your face and saying, get out of your car, I'm taking it. Do you understand, family? The man who you take your car to and you want him to service your car because he claims to be a mechanic, but you leave your car with him. He does nothing. He doesn't change the oil. He doesn't change the filters. He doesn't do what he's supposed to do. But when you return, he's got a bill for you. And he says, yep, all done. Yep, no problem, fine. But he hasn't done it. That's a crime of omission, you see. And it's just as bad as stealing your car, because he's giving you something back that's not fit for purpose, and
that happens
all the time, family, all the time. But because omission is a little bit more subtle than commission, we tend to overlook that aspect of crime. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that when we exaggerate, that's lying. See, but again, remember, we necessarily don't see it like that. We think, oh no, it's just, I'll just exaggerate it a little bit. You'll have in the Caucasian world, they say, oh, it's a little white lie. There's no such thing.
Lies are
as a
lies.
little white lie. So if you, it's a lie, is a lie, is a lie. It's just a lie. That's, you know, so you got these grades of lies. No, family, you know, all of it ultimately is diabolical. All of it ultimately is dangerous because all of it potentially does harm.
That's right.
You see? So, brothers and sisters, we live in a world rooted in absolute criminality, absolute criminality. From its very foundations 6,000 years ago, right down to this modern day and time. The criminality we're talking about is both the active commission of crimes and the deliberate omission of preventing crimes from happening. The crimes of this world exist on a micro and macro scale of existence. They originated from the making of the white European devil, but that same devil and his criminal mind has now passed to all of humanity, regardless to race, creed, class, or color. Again, see, because if we want, what we can do is just focus on the obvious criminal. But the reality is that that mindset is now a part of us. We also today are suffering from that criminal mentality, that criminal mind. And you know, I know that I've mentioned this before, maybe in another show at some point, but I thought I would say it again this evening because I think it's important that we appreciate that as Black people, for instance, many of us today, it's like we kind of hero worship criminality. See, because we were subject to law under our enslavement, under colonization, where everything that the enemy did with this Union Jack flying above him, with his system of governance, he couched it in law.
That's right. Yeah.
He you know, it was my lords, ladies, and gentlemen, you see? And so he made it to look like law was on his side.
That's right.
Do you know that everything that Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich, the Nazis, did during the time of Hitler's rise and his making war throughout Europe and in other parts of the world, do you understand that the vast majority of what he did was couched in legalese, couched in law, that they, you know, passed legislation in order to say that what was happening was lawful, you see? And there's a big argument right now in the world about whether or not, you know, America is in breach of international law, and because everything they couch it in law. I think I remember Tony Blair and you know, many so-called British prime ministers historically have said and done the same thing. But I remember Blair particularly, who I think they said was some type of constitutional lawyer or something like that, or at least his wife. His wife was a lawyer. Booth, I think her name was. But they were arguing that during the time when the issue of reparations were being raised, they were arguing that what Britain and other enslavers did during the time of our enslavement was legal at that time. It was lawful.
Lawful captive.
Exactly. The scripture calls us lawful captives because they couched everything that they do in law. Now, the effect, if, like, for instance, I think it was in America, like the original or the first police were slave catchers. That's why they were formed. They were literally formed. The police force was formed as an organization, a group that specific purpose was to catch runaway enslaved Africans and return them to the plantation. So I just want you to think about it, you know, because again, genetic memory serves a purpose whereby our ancestors who had to be running from the police in order to get free from bondage, that's passed down through the generations to some of us today. We still carry those genes, we still carry that genetic memory whereby now we are anti-police or anti-law, not realizing that as a people, we are a people who were created to be in obedience to the laws of God.
That's right.
I hope you're following this. You know, law, we're not anti-law by nature.
That's right.
By nature, we are law-abiding people.
That's right.
Based on God's law, but based on the way in which man has used law in a corrupted way, in a corrupted fashion, we are now anti-law. And sometimes we celebrate lawlessness to the point and to the degree where we don't want no organized or lawful activity. We see ourselves as rebels and outlaws. And so when somebody tries to bring to us formalized lawful behavior and activity, we start relating that to the white man, thinking that now this black system that we're trying to introduce is just a copy of that lawfare, that criminality dressed up as law that was used historically against us. I hope you're following, dear family, because what I'm suggesting to us is that we've got to really learn how to discern between God's law and lawful behavior and lawful activity, and the unlawful behavior and the legalese, the criminality that masquerades as law in the world in which we currently reside.
Sure.
And we've got to make a differentiation between the two things. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's deep what you're saying, because we were born into that.
Yes.
We believe that is the law.
Yes.
Because we've always followed it.
That's right.
And so this is why we're represented as a dead people, because once you rebel against God, you're spiritually dead then. So that's where we're at now, because we're rebelling against God.
Yes.
But whereas if we were following God, we would be spiritually awakened. Morally, we would be morally right. Everything would be right. But because we think this is it, and it's not it.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what the minister is pleading, telling us, no, follow God, obey God, because this is not it.
That's right.
There's more. There's God's law.
That's right.
Which gives life.
Yes.
And this law is death. Why would you, as we said before, why would you have a criminal justice system? Why would you give justice to the criminal? See, that's their thinking. Satanic. Doesn't make any sense. But we still go along with it, along. No, but this is this time now, 2026 is now God's time.
Yes. Praise be to God. Thank you, beloved. If you look at this image, this statue, this is what's found on the High Court in the UK, the Crown Court, the one of the top most famous courts in this country. It's called the Old Bailey, and on the top of that courthouse you'll find this statue. And in many other places you'll find it, you know, all over America, here in the UK, whatever. And this is their symbol of justice. And if you can see that the woman is blindfolded,
Yeah.
and she's holding scales, and she has a sword, and one of the breakdowns of this is supposed to be that justice is supposed to be blind. She's not supposed to see your color, your race, all of this kind of stuff. It is, in other words, supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be balanced. And the sword represents, the harshness of the punishment that you can ultimately receive if you're found to be guilty, you see, and the reality is that justice is such that if you're found to be a transgressor of law, that there is a punishment that goes with that. And the principle wrapped up in the statute, beautiful, beautiful principle. But is that what's practiced in this world? No, family, come on, man. You know that it's all about who you are.
That's right.
And what kind of money you've got as to how those scales weigh.
That's right.
And you know that it's totally unbalanced.
Absolutely.
And you know that poor people go to court every day and can be innocent and be found guilty. And you know that
Even with
rich people,
evidence.
absolutely, and you know that black people can find themselves in these so-called courts of law and be found guilty when they're innocent.
That's right.
And vice versa. And you know that they see your color. They're not blind. The system is not colorblind. Get out of it. Stop it. You see, so on the one hand, they say all the right things. They've got the right image. And unfortunately, for people like us, we tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. We tend to be a people who are very, very forgiving. We really are. Black people, man, I'm telling you. What did I hear the minister say one time? The minister was talking about the fact that they accuse him of teaching hate. And the minister was really reflecting on that. And he was saying, but just imagine, I'm paraphrasing the minister now, I'm not quoting him, but he was really saying, imagine that they're suggesting that I would have to teach you to hate these people. You see, think about that. Just think about that. Because nobody has to teach Jews to hate Nazis. And what this history of the Holocaust in Germany. No, they automatically hate that. And that's why a day can't go by without you having to hear something about the Holocaust. There's museums, there's films, there's books, there's documentaries, there's articles, and the slightest thing you will hear about the suffering of Jews. But I remember one time, Sister Claudia, I was doing one of my edutainment shows in one of the, I think it was Leeds University, one of the universities up north. And during the edutainment performance, I mentioned the 6 million figure, that's the figure that everybody talks about, Jews that were put to death or put into gas chambers during the 4 years of the Second World War. And I also mentioned during that edutainment performance the over 100 million Africans that were drowned, thrown overboard in the middle passage of the Atlantic Ocean during 400 years of enslavement. And, it was a beautiful show. The show went very, very well. Everybody seemed like they were really happy in the audience. And I remember after the show, I was standing in an area of the theater in this university with some of the FOI, the brothers who were with me, around me. There was I don't know, there may have been 6 brothers altogether who were on post with me, traveling with me for that particular occasion. And at a certain point, people were coming up and we were talking, shaking hands, and people were congratulating on the show and whatever. And we were just, socializing before we left to come back to London. And at a certain point, a little white boy pushed his way through the crowd, pushed his way past the FOI, came up to me and informed me that he was Jewish. And then said, how dare me? How dare I to have mentioned the enslavement of Africans in the same breath as the Holocaust of the Jews? Because there's no comparison, and the suffering of the Jews, that takes precedent over everything. And I remember thinking to myself, my God, the sheer audacity of this little boy to come to me like that. But then there was another part of me that sort of admired him, because I said, you see, here he was, he didn't give a damn about, who I was or who these brothers around who were there to really look after me and protect me. He didn't care. He felt so privileged and so confident and so, righteous in terms of what's taught to them about their history and the wrong that was done, that he felt that topped every other wrong that was ever done on the planet. 4 years against 400 years of suffering. See? And so, I did gently just beat him up, lyrically, not physically, and put him in his place and explain to him that, no, you're completely and utterly wrong. And yes, I have every right, and I intend to continue in that vein. And you need to take your place in, this hierarchy of suffering, because your suffering bears no comparison to our suffering. And we could go on to point out to you how our suffering continues. But, I'm saying all of that just to say, family, that honestly, we have to appreciate the level of injustice that has been done in the name of justice, and how, we give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And we, it was only the other day in Burkina Faso that Brother Ibrahim Traore, having come to power, has now told the judges in Burkina Faso to no longer wear those black gowns and those white wigs, to imitate or emulate the white Western European British court system, but to wear proper African garments that illustrates and demonstrates their affinity to their own culture and their own land. And that's happening now. Praise be to Allah. I remember being in the Gambia and going into the High Court just to have a look.
Was it Gambia or Zimbabwe?
I think I went in Gambia as well. I think it was, they were wearing it there as well. And Zimbabwe, yeah, most definitely Zimbabwe, but I think it was the same in the Gambia as well. They were wearing that stuff. So, family, the crime of commission and omission really needs to be studied. We need to understand that we can't keep going along with criminality thinking that it's genuine law, you know, and we have to be able to discern, we have to be able to distinguish between God's law and this Caucasian white man's law. I hope that makes sense. Praise be to Allah. Dear family, at the beginning, you noticed that we were looking back to 1984, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the 1984 controversy surrounding the Jesse Jackson presidential campaign with the Milton Coleman betrayal, that was the reporter that was under discussion. The support and backlash from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the media lies fueling Jewish outrage, threats of violence and actual violence, because there was actual violence. They actually blew up one of Jesse Jackson's campaign offices, the Jews. They went on the rampage, beloved family, on the basis of this insult that they said Jesse Jackson leveled at the Jewish community in New York when he used the term Jaime and Jaimetown. There were actual violence, the false accusations and counter accusations, the pressure on Jesse Jackson to denounce the minister, culminating in the derailment of his presidential campaign is a classic example of the crimes of commission and omission played out for all to see. That was, you know, for me, that was classic because, again, it wasn't somebody shooting somebody else or you know, somebody failing to prevent a shooting. This was mostly language that was being used, but the crime was in the language. The criminality was in the language. It was the omission of truth and the telling of lies that really made this whole thing a debacle and ultimately derailed Jesse Jackson's campaign. I don't personally believe that he would have won anyway, but the point is that if you remember, even when Obama actually won the presidency, you know, what was he able to achieve? He didn't achieve nothing for us. And Jesse Jackson would have been no different, you see, because it's not about any of us rising up in their political circles that's going to be able to change the reality. The reality will only change as a result of the intervention of Almighty God, Allah. This is how the change is going to come about. And if I can convey a message this evening to us on the Imagination show, it's to say that, you know, family, we have to get back to God. We have to embrace the majesty of that part of our nature which has been interfered with. And we've got to denounce criminality in the form of lies and omissions and really embrace who we are, the children of the Most High God. Embrace, you know, the fact that we are directly related to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. This is one of the things that the enemy knows so well. They know who we are, and they work 24 hours, 7 days a week to keep us from ever coming to a full realization
of who we are,
of just who we are. You know, this is something for us to really understand. The Ted Koppel and ABC Nightline report, from which we played the segment at the start of tonight's show, was designed not for genuine, honest reporting to bring real news and clarity to the viewing audience, but instead it was designed for sensation and mischief by promoting the idea of an alien malevolent force, you know, the black Muslims. Do you know that? Do you know that in the Nation of Islam, we never called ourselves black Muslims? That terminology was coined by the white media. Do you think they coined it for good? No, beloved. Black Muslims, the black Muslims, the black Muslims. See, that was, and again, that was because so many black people had been indoctrinated, brainwashed into believing that black is something negative. See? And so when you would say black Muslim, I mean, my God, it was like putting two negatives together, black and Muslim, because we had, the vast majority of us had been orientated into Christianity. And we saw Muslim as something alien, something foreign. So when, you know, on Nightline, on the nightly news now, you're hearing about these black Muslims. And then Louis Farrakhan, you know, I mean, man, threatening an innocent black reporter who was just doing his job. He was only doing his job when he revealed to Jews that Jesse Jackson, in a private setting, had used the term Jaime and Jaime Town. Jaime that many Jews would refer to one another. See? But in the context of the night of the news media, oh man, that was like, whoa, that was a massive nuclear explosion, and that was an opportunity then for the Jews to go on the rampage and discredit Jesse Jackson now, so that his campaign would go nowhere. And this is what a black man did. The black man who did that. And this is what we do. We will sell each other out to curry favor with those that we think are superior and better than us. And many of us have an inferiority complex. And so this is how that particular, the segment that we played was after this segment. This is the way in which the whole thing began on Nightline back in 1984.
Good evening.
I'm Ted Koppel,
and this is Nightline. His name is Louis Farrakhan, and he leads a black Muslim sect known as the Nation of Islam. He's also a friend.
Farrakhan. His name's not Farrakhan.
Yes.
It's Farrakhan. Farrakhan. You know, and he leads a black Muslim sect. See, the language is very, you got to understand, man. Honestly, you got to really listen to these people, because everything, they don't use words accidentally. It's a script, and everything that they say is designed to invoke a particular image. Listen to these black Muslims.
Is Nightline. His name is Louis Farrakhan, and he leads a black Muslim sect known as the Nation of Islam. He's also a friend of Jesse Jackson, and when a black reporter for the Washington Post reported Jackson's use of the word Jaime, Farrakhan called the reporter a traitor and threatened him with death. We'll talk tonight with Louis Farrakhan, with journalist and commentator Roger Wilk.
Threatened him with death. No, he didn't. He talked about when we as a people come to power, we will do like other nations do, where they execute their traitors. See, but the context was manipulated to try to make out that, you know, here you got this violent black Muslim basically threatening to kill somebody, to kill an innocent black reporter who had just innocently reported on the news. You see?
And with ABC News correspondent Kenneth Walker, who was covering the Jackson campaign.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from New York, Ted Koppel.
And it's, you know, again, I wonder if we really appreciate how in 1984, ABC, Nightline, and that music, and the, you know, it's so sensational. And this has been beamed into the living rooms of millions of white people and black people who are steeped in Christianity, and it's designed to create a particular type of atmosphere. And, you know, the only reason why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been so successful in truth, you know, over all of these years of teaching Black people and humanity about the reality of God, is because God is involved.
That's right.
If there was no power of God involved, man, the minister could never have survived. Because this is just one aspect of the attack that he's had to face over all of these decades. But make no mistake about it, every time that they would feature the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, like when you was watching the interview earlier on their mainstream news media, it was designed to destroy him, you see. But the minister was so blessed and so guided by Almighty God Allah and the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that, you know, the scripture says it like this: Satan planned and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. See, all of their plans for evil would come to naught, because the minister, and I have to say this to all of us, you know, you got to understand that you're looking at a man who has been anointed and appointed by God to do what he is doing. And this is what Black people have got to come to terms with, because the enemy knows this, and the enemy is unabashed fighting against God, because he is Satan. See, these are devils. See, you might want to try and make excuses for them, but we know who and what we're dealing with.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from New York, Ted Koppel.
Let the record show that in tomorrow morning's Washington Post, Black Muslim leader Louis Farrakhan is quoted as denying that he ever threatened the life of Washington Post reporter Milton Coleman. Let the record also show that on March 11th, speaking on a radio broadcast from Chicago, Mr. Farrakhan made what certainly sounded like a threat on Mr. Coleman's life. But in a moment, you'll hear that for yourselves. Why is this of any importance to anyone but the two men most directly involved? Because Louis Farrakhan is a man of influence, and as Nightline correspondent Betsy Aaron reports, he and the Reverend Jesse Jackson are close friends.
J-E-S-S-E, let us stand.
And you see, what you got to understand, listen to what he said. He and Jesse Jackson are close friends. That's not allowed.
No, you're not allowed to have any friends.
You can't have a so-called Christian minister, which is what Jesse Jackson was at that time, and a Muslim, Black Muslim. No, that relationship has to be broken up. That's what that was all about. You know, how dare you form an alliance like that we haven't authorized? You gotta listen to the language that's used, and then you'll really see what this is really all about.
Jackson are close friends.
J-E-S-S-E, let us stand for the next president of the United States, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
They are friends, one a candidate for president of the United States, the other Black Muslim Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam, a black nationalist organization which believes in black superiority, its position taken as a reaction to what it terms white racism.
And you got to listen to the language. You know, we believe in black superiority. You've never heard that.
Never.
We've never taught that. But this is the language is used. It's a lie. See, there'd be lots of omissions and lots of commissions of the lie. No, we teach that God is superior.
That's right.
We've been made inferior, and the white man promotes white supremacy. he believes he's superior to everybody.
He's better.
Right. But we know that we've been made into an inferior people, an inferior thinking people. See, we have an inferiority complex. And what we're saying is that the white man's false premise of superiority has to be exposed and destroyed. And the black man's inferiority complex has to be exposed and destroyed. And we want to bring that false superiority down while raising that false inferiority up so that we can meet now on the same level and start dealing man to man. That's what we teach. We don't teach no black superiority, but you see, you know, that's to put us on the same level as the racists.
That's right, how they think.
Because they know who they are.
That's right.
They're the racists. We don't believe in racism. We don't believe, we believe in freedom, justice, and equality, regardless to creed or class or color. That's what we believe. And if you come to us respectful as a white man or a white woman, we treat you with respect. But don't come with your superior attitude or your superior mentality, which has been our experience. Then we'll say to you, get thee behind me, Satan. Because only Satan and his devil minions think that they're better. This is what you got to understand about the Nation of Islam and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's pure mathematics. Makes pure sense.
A black nationalist organization which believes in black superiority, its position taken as a reaction to what it terms white racism in American society.
We have been saddled down with an inferiority feeling.
You listening?
We don't think generally that black folk should rule themselves, much less anyone else.
In the last month, Farrakhan...
And what Jesse Jackson was saying was, I want to be Pharaoh. Just think about the audacity. Jesse Jackson was saying that he wanted to be the number one man in America, the president. In other words, you know, representing white people and black people and everybody. He weren't running for black people. And that's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was pointing out in that little clip there. We don't even feel, we feel inferior generally, much less thinking that we can govern ourselves and govern other people. So that was the audacity of a Jesse Jackson presidential run. And the minister, being a brother, was backing him.
That's right.
Not under any illusion that he was going to win, but man, you saw the way the enemy came out. He was so angry.
There you.
They were the Jews were there. They developed some chants. One of the chants was "Ruin Jesse, ruin."
What's that mindset?
Oh,
the envy,
jealousy.
Yeah.
Absolutely wicked.
Think generally that black folk should rule themselves, much less anyone else.
In the last month, Farrakhan has attacked and threatened Jews in general and one black reporter in particular.
You hear that? In the last month, Farrakhan has attacked Jews in general and one particular black reporter. See, the language. Minister don't attack nobody. The minister responds to attacks against us and may warn and threaten them against making those attacks because the minister is telling them God is on scene today. He's exposing the man of sin. Not saying going around attacking nobody. With all the hateful things that they've accused the minister of, have you noticed? In the minister's got zealot believers. I'm one of those zealot believers, man. I believe in that brother. I believe in that man. And he's got soldiers all over in the Nation of Islam. But you see us attacking anybody? They can't point to one Jew, one white man whose one hair has been touched on their head. from the Nation of Islam. Yet we are these terrible, hateful people who are threatening to kill this one and that one. They're just damn liars. There's no prosecutions. You can't see where, oh yeah, this Nation of Islam person was in court charged with threatening to kill this one. No, beloved, don't happen, because that's not who we are. But the devil is a liar. He's a liar, and he omits to tell the truth, which makes him guilty of criminality. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point now. Let's just let the video run so you can hear for yourself.
Less anyone else.
In the last month, Farrakhan has attacked and threatened Jews in general and one black reporter in particular, all in defense of Jesse Jackson's candidacy. Jackson's Rainbow Coalition has never been peopled with large numbers of Jews. When a Washington Post reporter revealed Jackson's use of the word Jaime for Jew and Jaimetown for New York, this is what followed. Angry calls for explanations and apologies from Jewish leaders. And then an initial denial and then defense from Jackson.
But what that woman's voice is omitting to say wasn't just angry calls for apologies, and no, they physically attacked Jesse Jackson's campaign office, blew it out, bombed it, you know, and they were going around committing all kinds of crimes and violence and threatening to kill Jesse Jackson. I mean, it was, you know that when Obama was running and when Obama was the president, do you understand that he was the most threatened president in the history of the White House? This is actual facts. Obama, death threats. But you don't hear that because it's a crime of omission. You don't understand what it takes to be a black person in a world like this with any type of status, and how such black people come under pressure to compromise themselves out of who they are and to go along with the status quo in order to go along to get along, to have a relatively peaceful existence in a world like this. Man, if the minister was one of those go along to get along Negroes, you never hear nothing about him. But because he's not that kind of man, because he's a man of God, you know, then he has to be ostracized, he has to be criminalized, he has to be evil spoken of, and, you know, made to be some ugly, malevolent individual.
Angry calls for explanations and apologies from Jewish leaders. And then an initial denial and then defense from Jackson. And this from Mr. Farrakhan.
I say to the Jewish people, who may not like our brother, it is not Jesse Jackson that you're attacking. When you attack him, you attack the millions that are lining up with him. You're attacking all of us. But if you harm this brother, I warn you in the name of Allah.
You hear how he's warning them? Right. In the name of Allah, in the name of God, man. See? And again, we love to individualize people, you know, like it's all about Jesse Jackson. No, it's not about Jesse Jackson. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, you're not attacking Jesse Jackson. You're attacking millions of black people who have placed their hope in that man. Not that even if he was to achieve that office, that it would be of any benefit to black people, because we don't understand the political system. Just like we thought it would make a difference when Obama went into the White House. Didn't make no difference for us. See? But no, they absolutely lost their minds. See? Because the idea that black people could have some type of high-profile representation within their system, no, that was enough to drive them crazy. And they went mad, dear family.
hung you in the name of Allah. This will be the last one you hung.
Then, in a nationally broadcast message on the Nation of Islam radio program, Farrakhan took on that Washington Post reporter, Milton Coleman. Coleman is black.
Don't tell me nothing about you a reporter. You a nigger in the eyes of white people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You are a nigger in the eyes of white people.
Telling them straight.
See? Because that's how they see us. Especially when we're willing to betray one another on their behalf. You think they respect us? When we do things like that, they know that, one, they know they could never trust us because we're willing to sell out our own. Imagine to be a Judas like that. Nah, man. So the minister was really just exposing them. That's what they don't like. The fact that the minister is saying you're a nigger in their eyes. Because the minister is still not really focused on him. The minister is still focused on those that he's trying to benefit, knowing that they hate Milton Coleman's guts as much as they hate the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They hate him too. But he's allowing himself to be used in such a despicable fashion.
Don't tell me nothing about you a reporter. You a nigger in the eyes of white people. Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, but we're going to make an example of Milton Coleman. One day soon we will punish you with death. We're going to punish the traitor and make the traitor beg for forgiveness.
It is a threat to intimidate rather than one to...
See, if you don't hear, I'm sure everybody on the Imagination show, the vast majority of you, you know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he gives a lecture, he speaks for 2-3 hours.
That's right.
See, when you take sound bites that are less than 10 seconds, 15 seconds, when you take, when somebody is talking and you take a little snippet out of something which is in a context, a broader context, you can make anybody sound crazy or violent or dangerous, you see? And this is what the enemy is very good at doing.
Always, isn't it?
Cutting up what people say, using snippets and then putting their own spin on it. And we've got to be much more mature, brothers and sisters, to not allow ourselves to be manipulated like that. Right. You've got to have the statement in its full context to understand what the minister was talking about. And essentially he was talking about people like Milton Coleman. For what he did, he should, one, be ostracized from the black community. He should be allowed to know from us that we don't appreciate that type of behavior, and that he shouldn't be just allowed to think that that type of behavior is fine. And then further, for people who are willing to betray us in the future, when we are a nation, when we have our own government, and then we think that, and by the way, our little brother in Burkina Faso, I believe that the law has now been changed as well, whereby the death penalty is going to be brought back for the traitors, for those who will sell out the revolution and will try to kill that revolution. Well, you know, that's death, man. That's death. That type of behavior, it's unacceptable. And if you allow people like that to coexist within your nation, thinking that it's all right to side with an enemy, no, beloved family, you don't deserve any kind of nation if you think that's acceptable. You see? And in the world of the Caucasian, the white man, and every other people, whether it's the Chinese or whoever, you betray that nation to an enemy, man, I'm telling you, they take an extremely dim view, and you will be executed. You get executed in China for that. Understand this. You get executed in Russia for that. You get executed In the UK, they still have a working gallows. It's in a prison called Wandsworth Prison. And apparently, on the books, the only thing that you can be executed for still today in this country, I believe, is the crime of treason. When you betray your country, they can still technically hang you for that in this country. So don't get too, hyped and emotional based on what the enemy wants you to feel when it comes to this type of pronouncement.
And make the traitor beg for forgiveness.
It is a threat to intimidate rather than one that really would be a serious one to take Mr. Coleman's life.
Professor Lawrence Mamaya says Farrakhan's threats are in keeping with his charismatic style.
When a black reporter turns against, in a sense, Louis Farrakhan's champion, political champion, he feels a need to chastise that reporter, to single him out, and to let him know that he ought to come around, that he should not be destroying the unity that black people need at this point.
I said it!
Farrakhan's Nation of Islam claims to have somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 members. The message popularized...
We've never made that claim. There's no such claim. The nation claims to have between 5,000 and 10,000 members. You just lie. With Nation of Islam, we don't give no figures for any membership in the Nation of Islam. Never done it, never will do it. You will never know. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it like this: we have an army that you see and an army that you don't see. That's our figure in the Nation of Islam. All you need to know is that we are global and we are universal and growing every single day. We are your worst nightmare, Satan, devil.
By the late Malcolm X and shared by Farrakhan is that whites are devils and only blacks can straighten out this country. It's a philosophy leading to a separate black nation. But Farrakhan has joined the system temporarily to support his friend's presidential candidacy.
Reverend Jackson, the next president of the United States of America.
Those who are on the streets, the underclass, this is the kind of crowd that Minister Farrakhan can reach, and a crowd which possibly Jesse Jackson, being a minister, cannot reach.
Yeah, the minister reaches more than just people in the streets, I can assure you. We got followers from every single walk of life that you could imagine, and some you can't even imagine.
Before Jackson received Secret Service support, Farrakhan's Fruit of Islam guards protected him.
Yeah. You know that at the start of Jesse Jackson's campaign, the government in America refused to give him Secret Service protection. And so the Nation of Islam protected Jesse Jackson. The Fruit of Islam became his bodyguards. The Fruit of Islam became his Secret Service. And when they saw the job that the FOI was doing for Jesse Jackson, they couldn't have that. They couldn't tolerate that because, man, that image on the screen was too much. So then all of a sudden they said, okay, he can have Secret Service protection. And the Fruit of Islam then vacated that space and allowed them. But they should have given him Secret Service protection from the very beginning. Satan. They thought that by denying him Secret Service protection, he wouldn't have any protection. He wouldn't have any proper security. But when they saw the Fruit of Islam, oh my God, again, their worst nightmare, dear family. Jerry Dredd says, he says, I just broke off a friendship with a longtime friend for saying something very insulting about Minister Farrakhan. I say all praise is due to Allah, brother. That's how we got to be. You know, when you have a man who is a champion for black people like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you shouldn't tolerate nobody, including so-called black friends, allowing poison to drip out of their mouth about a man like that. No, man, you remain friends with somebody like that, then you're not really a follower or a friend of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Isn't that what the Holy Quran says when they talk?
When they talk,
you come away
move away from them. When they talk their filth,
yes.
you know, just don't stay around people like that. Don't allow them to use your ear as a toilet.
Farrakhan shows up at Jackson rallies. Jackson shows up when Farrakhan registers to vote. And Farrakhan accompanied Jackson to Syria to negotiate for the release of Navy Lieutenant Robert Goodman. Farrakhan and Jackson, friends. Is a presidential candidate responsible for statements of a friend?
I must not assume responsibility for things I don't know about.
Finally, an attempt at putting an end to it all.
I have a call from Milton Coleman, which I'm going to respond to. I've not talked with him for weeks. I have a call into Mr. Farrakhan because I respect the both of them, and I would hope that in short order that these two very able and talented men could sit together and resolve this matter amicably.
In the end, unfortunately, they managed to get Jesse to repudiate the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But despite the repudiation by Jesse of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you've never heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say a bad word about Jesse Jackson, because he understands and he knows that, you know, when our people are trying to be politicians, man, Jesse, you ain't no politician, brother. You need to go back to being a man of God and be a man of God and be a man of the people and stop trying to join Satan's world. Dear family, in the law courts of the United Kingdom, those giving evidence are required to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It sounds like a wonderful requirement and principle, but nothing could be further from the truth. The requirement is impossible to fulfill when the entire foundation of this world and all the institutions and systems are built on lies. Here's Owen Jones, a little white boy who's going to bear witness.
Our politicians and our media lie to us routinely in many different ways. There are outright untruths, distortions, deceptions, and there's also a specific form of lying, which is called lying by omission.
Did you hear, family? I just wanted to play that because I know some of us, we don't like to take it from black people. So I just get a white man to say it, just in case you think I'm making something up. So let's hear from Owen one more time.
Our politicians and our media lie to us routinely in many different ways. There are outright untruths, distortions, deceptions, and there's also a specific form of lying, which is called lying by omission.
That's what they do, family. There's so many things that are just unspoken, but they are unspoken because it's another way of telling absolute lies. In part 1 of Message to the Black Man, page 2, paragraph 4, it says, if one teaches a thing that he himself does not know, he can be charged with lying to the people. Further down in paragraph 6 of the same page, it says, according to Allah, the origin of such teachings as a mystery God is from the devils. It was taught to them by their father, Yaqub, 6,000 years ago. They know today that God is not a mystery, but will not teach it. See, that's omission. I wrote down here, this constitutes the grave crime of omission on the question of who is God. See, what you got to understand, family, if they would lie about who God is.
The very root of all existence.
Of everything.
Yes.
Of everything. You know, I want to be the president. You got to put your hand on the Bible. See, you listen to them every minute, Americans, in God we trust. Which God bless America. Which God you talking about? See, because God is everything in this world, dear family. Understand this. I know that many of us have been poisoned and we now think, oh, God is some superstition or something, some non-existent reality or entity. Family, I'm warning you. God is an absolute part of you and me. And while if we are in denial of that fact and we don't tap in and tune in to our very nature,
That's right.
that part of yourself that speaks to yourself and tells you when you're going wrong,
right.
tells you when you're about to do something of evil, and it speaks to you, it reproves you, it guides you if you are willing to listen to the inner voice. See? Understand, man, what we teach in the Nation of Islam, that God is a man, we ain't retreating from that, and you will discover soon enough that God is a man. See, we can point to our God, to the God, but this mystery God that the white man has taught us about, that we think that we can pray to a mystery and somehow he's gonna be a benefactor to us. No, well,
a spook.
Just hang around a few days, dear family. It's not an accident that this white man in the UK has his House of Lords. In other words, his House of Gods. He knows who God is. And he thinks that he's a God besides God. And he wants us to worship him. That's why they painted Jesus white. So that we're worshiping the white image of a white man, not no spook. They give you the image of a white man so that you will, by default, worship white people. Oh, man, I wish we'd wake up.
They set it up, wasn't it?
I wish we would awaken, dear family, because that's all we got to do, man, is just wake up. Wake up, man, and then, it's all over. Black people come together. The Holy Quran, chapter 21, verse 18 says, "Nay, we hurl the truth against falsehood, so it knocks out its brains." See, falsehood has got brains. Think about it. Falsehood ain't just, you can't find no falsehood in the universe. Everything that you see in the universe is truth. The stars are truth. The sun, the moon, truth. The laws, the immutable laws of gravity, truth. They never fail. Dear family, nay, we hurl the truth against falsehood, so it knocks out its brains, and lo, it vanishes. When truth comes, falsehood vanishes. And woe to you for what you describe. See, this fake stuff that we give descriptions of. We've got a description now that on black people's walls of a fake Jesus. These lies that we tell the black Muslims. No, we're just Muslims, man. What's a Muslim? A Muslim is one who submits his or her will to do the will of God, regardless the creed or class or color. Anybody who says, I submit my will to do God's will, that's a Muslim. Simple, very simple, not complicated. God is not the author of confusion. The author of confusion is Satan. Our universe is created by the originator based on truth, freedom, justice, equality, and Islam. What is Islam? It means peace. Peace. That's what every single human being is seeking. Peace. See now, look at this world. War, 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 war everywhere. And what's people say? They want peace. People want peace. They want Islam. But now the enemy is so wicked. He's made the name Islam synonymous with terrorism and violence. Right. Islam is not violent or terroristic. Right. Man. And today, family, you and I are charged with the responsibility of exposing the lie in all its forms, whether committed or omitted, and reestablishing the whole truth. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you this evening. I hope you get it. You know, we got to make sure that we're not guilty of the crime of omission.
That's right.
We know what committing crime is all about, but omission is just as bad, and sometimes even worse.
That's right.
Because it's kind of hidden, you see, but that's what the enemy specializes. He'll tell you something, but he'll omit to tell you so much more of what he's supposed to be telling you, and that's where the big lie is, and then he creates a lot of strife and pain, and even to the point of murder sometimes. This is the reality of what we've been trying to convey this evening. And so, dear beloved family, I want to thank you for being with us and listening to this little presentation. May Allah bless you as I greet you, as I found you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. All praises due to Allah. Thank you, Brother Leo.
Praise be to Allah.
And on that note, don't forget, family, to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, the only paper that is unbought and uncompromised. There's so many interesting articles in the Final Call newspaper. So get up to speed with what's going on in the world instead of reading these, I don't even want to say these
rags, these rags.
Yeah. Get your Final Call newspaper. And as I said, if you can't get the physical copy, you can get a digital copy, download it onto your iPhone, your MacBook, whatever you have. And as I said, there's no excuse today for not knowing. Everything is out there. So.
HK says, love you all outfits. Very nice.
Yeah. Praise be to
Allah.
Praise be to Allah. And don't forget, tune in to the Final Call Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I say, that Final Call Radio is such a blessing. You can listen to it wherever you are on the planet Earth. You can be outside. It's not like back in the day, as I said, you needed a tape recorder or a video.
None of that now, man.
In the palm of your hand, in your car. So we are blessed. Let's feed ourselves the knowledge and wisdom of God. And don't forget the Sunday meetings on NOI.org every Sunday with our student minister Ismail Muhammad or the other student ministers. The last week's lecture again was absolutely brilliant, and that was 2026. Allah God makes all things new. There was the part 1, and last week was part 2. So tune in. Let's just feed up. The more we feed on God, the more awake we are. That's what the resurrection is. The resurrection of the dead is spiritually being uplifted, awakened. So you will only get that when we feed on the word of God. So they keep putting all these silly things on TV. What's that latest thing? Traitor, people watching Traitor. Why are they sowing seeds? They're just sowing seeds in the people's minds so that you actually become that. That
is acceptable.
Oh, that acceptable. And this time that we're living in is the time of betrayal. So we have to be very careful what we feed on, because you will become that. So on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, may Allah God continue to guide, bless, and protect you all and your family. Stay safe. Keep feeding on the knowledge and wisdom of God through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. As I said, we are a truly, truly blessed people. It may not seem like it, but just hold on to the teachings. We have to be patient.
Hold on to the rope.
Hold on. It may look like nothing will change, but it is going to change, because it's in the Bible and it's in the Holy Quran. It's all there in the books for us. Change will come, but it's whether we want to be part of that change.
We're living in the time of the fulfillment of prophecy.
Absolutely.
Prophecy. And we are the people. Do you know that many of the prophets of old, they wished that they could be alive in this time?
We're here.
The time of fulfillment. We're living in a very special.
They prayed.
Special time. They wish that
they
could
here.
be around.
But we're here
to see this time.
Yes. So, don't take your life for granted. This is the best gift that you can ever have in your life, the gift of life. So look after yourselves. There's How to Eat to Live. There's so many books to help us to improve ourselves.
Yes, and counter music reminds us that, yes, Ramadan is approaching fast. And also don't forget Savior's Day in Detroit this year, from the 19th to the 22nd. Savior's Day weekend.
Very special times that are coming up.
Praise be to Allah.
Special year. So on that note,
take care, family.
Take care and have a blessed day, evening, night, wherever you are on the planet Earth. Take care and thank you.